Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm not going to hold you. This is episode 10, man. As usual, I'm your host, Scott, at Barbchair Scott on Twitter and Instagram. You can give me a follow. You can follow HNB Media at HNB Media TV on Twitter, and you can follow them at HNB Media on Instagram. And, of course, you can follow the brand, the Barbers Chair Network, at Barbers Chair Net on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe patreon.com/Barbers Chair Network. Man, this is Thursday, I'm 2 months ahead. Thursday, September 9th, 2021. The NFL season is here. We got a lot of stuff to get into, but let's just get right into it now. Of course, the rundown says one thing, but we're live for the first time, so I might say fuck the rundown a couple times. We're gonna bring my brother in, my brother Flows. For those of you who don't listen to the 79th and Hallis podcast. You know, some of y'all might just be exclusives to the HNB Media crowd. This is my brother Flows. You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram at FlowsAndolini. You can follow 79th and Hallis at 79th and Hallis on Twitter. Let's just get right into it, man. Week 1, you were at Hallis Hall today. What is the vibe around there a couple days before the Bears match up with the Rams?
The vibe is that this team sucks ass. That's the vibe. But you know, it's a lot. It's interesting. From the players seem to be, ready to go. It seems like, especially the defensive players seem like they have a bit of a chip on their shoulder. Matt Nagy is the king of word salad, so I'm not sure how he feels. Especially he was asked a tough question about play calling. Why did you give up play calling, and why did you give it back? He's always a gut feeling. I'm like, it's not really explaining anything. But the vibe from the coaches, I have no clue. The players seem good. They seem eager. They seem ready to go. So I wouldn't say it's anything negative.
So I saw from a couple of the interviews that we posted up on the page that you were tweeting out the quotes. Jalen Johnson, he seems a little confident about, going against Stat Padford, as we like to call him. He said basically he is what he is. Did you feel like a kind of arrogance with the defense in general about, well, we didn't really show y'all shit in the preseason, and that we're gonna be ready to roll on Sunday?
The funny thing is that quote I tweeted out about him saying, Matt Stafford is Matt Stafford. I didn't take it as disrespect. I took it as we've played Matt Stafford for all of his career. Right. Coach Jalen Johnson's only had a year with him, but people like Khalil Mack, Hakeem Hicks, Eddie Jackson, that's 4+ years of playing him. So they know who Matthew Stafford is. Why would someone in their 11th, 12th season switch up his entire repertoire, his entire style because he got with a new team? It wouldn't make much sense. So I wouldn't say that they were cocky. It's just they know their opponent. And they know, Matt Nagy knows Sean McVay. The defense seems more chippy than anything. Like they have something to prove. It was mentioned about 2018. It was a special season, but every player just, always says that's in the past. I think they're starting to realize that they can't hang their hat on that miraculous season anymore.
Which is good. I kind of feel like the last 2 seasons they've been living off 2018, which is funny because they didn't win shit in 2018. How's the injury front? Now, of course, we saw Robert Quinn was on there. Eddie Goldman was on the injury report. Khalil Mack didn't. I think he practically was limited. Who is all in line to play on Sunday, and is Eddie Goldman potentially going to miss?
Eddie Goldman's day-to-day, so he tweaked his knee is what happened.
Okay.
He was on there for an ankle, but his ankle's fine. He was on there for 2 things, his ankle and his thigh. Matt Nagy said that he's day-to-day. So that is really going to be – it's probably going to end up being a game-time decision. There's practice tomorrow, and so who knows how he'll feel tomorrow. Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn are more than likely going to play, barring something happening tomorrow. God forbid it does. Danny T is going to be out, as you know. And that makes Alec Ogletree the starting inside linebacker right next to Roquan. But Eddie Jackson's also expected to play as well this Sunday against the Rams.
Okay. Now let's talk about what everybody wants to talk about. Of course, that's Justin Fields, the chosen one. Have they been like hiding him this week? Like, of course he's the backup quarterback, so you're not really gonna hear him at the podium. But like, what has there been any word of what he's been doing? Of course, he's been leading the number 2 team, but have you seen him around? Like, basically, what's the update on what's going on with our guy?
He's still around, he's throwing, but it's like at this point, what's the purpose of talking to Justin Fields if he's not starting?
Right.
No disrespect to him. I mean, there is a thing with Bears players just not wanting to talk to the media, and you can't really force them. I know some Bears PR have said, if a player doesn't want to talk, you're going to force them. Even if you find them, they can still say no. And the Bears have a habit of giving us players who only want to talk. So we'll talk to David Montgomery. We'll talk to Jalen Johnson. Robert Quinn is not bad, but we're not going to hear from Khalil often. We're never going to hear from Eddie Goldman because Eddie Goldman is just a private person, according to all of them. And you're never going to hear from Akeem Hicks. You may hear from Eddie Jackson every now and then. So that's not really anything you can change with the Bears and their players. So it kind of just is what it is at this point.
And speaking of Akeem Hicks, they've been real hush about why he missed practice, why they put him out of practice a couple weeks ago. Like they've been acting like, it's FBI type of information. Do we know anything about that? Like, is there anything that's been going on that they're just not saying about why the hell he was pulled out of practice?
No, they're not giving us anything. And I'm guessing maybe seasoned veterans, more seasoned reporters than I am, may know some things, but for my own, sources of information, no, I had no clue. And the Bears are secretive. That's just what they do.
For no damn reason. See, it's to the point right now where Nagy interviews, you don't even get nothing from them shits. Like it's the same thing. Like you said, what you use, we said word salad is what you call
word salad.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's just like the Bears culture or if that's Nagy's culture. And I've seen now more recently journalists have, we're trying to press them like, hey, what about this? What about that? And it's word salad. But it may just be that culture. I don't think the Bears like to share, in terms of, what's going on. And a lot of teams do that. They're not the only team that do that. But of course, they're the team we are, we've grown up with. And so we're kind of like, shouldn't we know a little bit more? But that's their culture. Their culture is a little more hush hush.
Right. And so going into Sunday, what's your feel in this game? Now, of course, we were texting about this earlier this morning, and your fandom started creeping in a little bit. You say you're starting to believe in the defense. What do you think's going to happen on Sunday? Because I'm somebody like I'm going to be a bad fan. I want the Bears to get blown out. I'm sorry. I want it to be brutal. The quicker we get this kid on the field, the better. Y'all call me a bad fan. Y'all call me whatever the hell y'all want to call me. I don't care. But the Bears do the opposite of what we want. So I wouldn't really be shocked if Dalton goes out there, has a good game, and beats this
throws
team.
For like 4 TDs.
Right, exactly. That's the type of shit that the Bears do. Now, shout out to Adam Hodge and Adam Johns about their podcast. They put out some numbers about Mitch having better numbers than Dalton last year, which I didn't even know. So what is your feeling about this game? What do you think is going to happen? How do you think this offense is going to look and everything of that?
First off, shout out to my boy Mitchell Trubisky. Just to let you know, I still love you. You're still welcome here. If you ever want to come to the crib and get you a 6-piece, you're welcome to. I will guide you. But my feeling about the Rams game in general is, sure, we can say that the Bears typically don't do what we want them to do. But those tend to be with players who are up and down. It's who knows what they're going to do. Andy Dalton has been this Andy Dalton for at least 4 or 5 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now, Andy Dalton has had some great seasons, I think, with Cincinnati. At one point, he was one of my favorite quarterbacks back in the day when he first started. But he's older now. And when you're older, it's hard to keep up. That's just father time. The only exception to that is like Tom Brady. Outside of that, as you get older, it's just a natural deduction. It's a natural decline. That's just what happens. So I wouldn't expect him to do anything crazy, but I also know Andy Dalton is not a turnover machine.
Right.
That's just not what he does. He's also not the same risk taker he was his first couple of seasons with the Bengals. Mainly because with the Bengals, he had I was AJ Brown, if I remember correctly. And that, I mean, goodness gracious.
No, it's AJ Green. AJ Green.
So I say AJ Brown. AJ Green, you're talking about an incredible target. You throw the ball up anywhere near him in his prime, and he's going to get it. And that was sort of his safety blanket. And I think they had just a good scheme of running their players. He's coming to a team that I don't think has a very good offensive scheme. And he's going to be expected to throw a lot. Matt Nagy, I laughed with him last week. I said on Thursday, I told him, I asked you last year, when are you going to get to 15 carries or more consistently a game? He started smiling because he remembers the question I asked. And he was like, that's always the goal. And when he said it's always the goal, I'm like, you're not getting to 15. I talked to a few of the journalists earlier today after practice, or during practice, and I said, over or under 14 and a half carries. They're like, I go a little bit over. If anything, it's 15 at most. So if they can't get a running game established, and I mean, you're going against Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
So getting a running game established and you're going against the renewed Leonard Floyd is insanely tough.
Do
If
we
that don't
believe
happen,
in Leonard Floyd again this year, or has he just had a contract year last year?
I think he benefits from having Aaron Donald on this team. He
Okay.
wasn't bad, but he's not a leader on his own. I don't say leader as a person, but he is not a sack leader, edge rush leader. He needs to have that second person. Which I mean, shoot, everybody needs somebody in life to have somebody else. That's not a knock on him, but I do believe in him having a successful career for the rest of his career, especially with Aaron Donald. And I think the defense and their DC make very good use of him, and he's going to set a good edge, and then Aaron Donald's going to blow up everything in the center, and that's your run game. So unless they're going to work with some traps, they're going to work with some outside zones. It's going to be rough, and then that leads to Andy Dalton being called upon to throw consistently. I remember games with Mitch threw like 50 times.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Can Andy Dalton handle that workload? He wasn't called as much to have that workload last year.
Nah, they were trying to run the ball.
Yeah, last year Zeke almost had 1,000, but the ball was going to be ran at least. Will the Bears, finish how they left off last season, where David Montgomery was getting into his zone? You know what I'm saying? And you got a healthy running back room. You got Damian Williams after that. You have Khalil Herbert after that. So if they take advantage of that, Andy Dalton's going to do what you don't want him to do, and that's throw for like 3 touchdowns. It's going to be annoying. But if not, I cannot see how he has something great. But once again, he's a veteran. Yeah. And he has a full season under his belt of being a full training camp of being a starter, whereas last year it was Dak, in expectation was Dak. And what did he come to fill in for Dak? Week 7 or something around there?
Like around week 5. Because Dak remember Dak put up all those crazy numbers in the first month, even though but the defense was terrible. And then that's when he fucked his knee up? I think it was his knee that he messed up. And that's when Dalton came in.
Yeah. So he's not expected to do that anymore. He wasn't expected to start last year, whereas he has a full training camp of being that guy. So I don't think he'll be terrible, but that's a stretch to say he'll be like lights out.
Okay. Now, speaking of Andy Dalton, is Jason Peters going to play this week? His protection. Is he still in football shape, or is he still struggling to get there?
He's struggling to get there, but he has improved. And also he looks a little bit slimmer. And you take it from a big dude, nigga. I know when people are getting slim, and you know what I'm saying. I know when he's getting slimmer, and he have his helmet off, he's getting his breath, but that happens when you're 40 and you're playing high intensity professional sports. But
right.
his cardio was getting there. So, and even though he's not the same person he was, he still knows how to play football, and he still look better than almost all of them, which is not a good thing.
No, it's not.
It's not a good thing, and it's not a bad thing. You don't want a 40-year-old up showing you, and you're in your 20s. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we'll see.
All right, so two more things before we get you out of here. One, give us a score for Rams Bears on Sunday. What is your gut tell? Of course, we will recap the game this Sunday, our first 79th highlights of the season. If y'all want to hear our game previews, patreon.com/Barbershop Network. We're going to do the first game preview this week. It will be ready for you on Sunday morning. And of course, the recap will be up on Monday. But what is your score for this week?
30-10, 31-10.
Whew.
Bears losing.
Whew. I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to say 10. I'm going to say 34-6. I think it's going to be nasty. It's going to be nasty business on Sunday. I have zero faith in this offense. That defense isn't gonna do nothing. Jalen Johnson can't fool me with those quotes or anything like that. But tonight is the season opener. Bucks Cowboys, the champs are getting their banner tonight. Brady's going for 8. They got a full roster back. Dak's healthy, and I say that in air quotes. Do the Cowboys have a chance tonight?
Of course they have a chance. If Dak is playing like he was playing that first month, of course they have a chance. And I think you got a renewed Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, he's a Buckeye. I've been a Buckeye fan my entire life.
You're being Buckeye
I got Buckeye shades on right now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I got my Buckeye shades. I don't cover them, so I can be a fan as much as I want. And Zeke is going for 1,500 yards this year. So that's my fan shade prediction. So, no, I think they got a chance, but that Buck defense just turned up at the end of last season. And they're fast. You can't get to the edge on them because they're going to get there. It's time, then it's Tom Brady still have it for another year. It's his 22nd year. I was freaking like 10 years old when he came in the league.
You were
Actually, I
in
may have
fifth
been
grade.
younger.
You were in fifth grade when he won his first championship.
You know what I'm
Long
saying?
damn time
So,
ago.
and now I'm 30. So, can he keep it up for one another season? If he does, and they're doing what they did toward the end of last season, Cowboys have a chance, but they're not going to win.
Definitely. I let them know where they can follow you at. Everything, where they can get in tune with you. Everything we got going on 79th and Hallis.
Well, you just listed all our websites earlier, nigga. So
We gotta do it twice.
At 79th and Hallis, at Barberchair Net, at Barber's Chair Net. I don't know our Twitter, which is terrible. I should know this. And then of course at Flows Andolini. That's ANDOLINI. And if you're a Godfather fan, you know who that is. So yes, we can find
every week we'll be doing these little 79th and Hallis minutes, getting you ready for the week. Thank you for joining us. We'll holler at you next week.
Appreciate it.
All right, let's get into the rest of the rundown, man. I'm gonna go with my sound off before we get back into sports, man. I want to get serious real quick. This Monday we lost the legendary Michael K. Williams, man. They found him dead in his apartment in Brooklyn from apparent drug overdose, man. I just want to give thoughts and prayers to his family, all his friends. Anybody that knows me knows I am a diehard fan of The Wire. It is my favorite TV show. I've watched that show more times than I can fucking count. I'm actually on my 1,000,000th fucking rewatch right now. Just everything about the show, from the acting to the storylines. It's the most realistic TV show I've ever seen. And he was one of the heart and souls of that show, man. And it's not just The Wire, it's Boardwalk Empire. He even had a role on Sopranos. He's been on every classic HBO show. He was on Lovecraft Country last year. He has just an amazing body of work, man, that I think people need to just get back in tune with if you're already not up to date. He's just not Omar Little, even though that was his best role to me, man. It was one of those losses, like, celebrity losses, you don't know these people, sometimes they hit you, sometimes they don't. This goes up there with my celebrity losses that I felt a lot. I felt when Michael Jackson died 11 years ago. I felt it when Kobe died last year. I still really haven't fully accepted that Kobe's not here. And this goes up there. Of course, Nipsey 2 years ago. This is up there in that range with, with people who, you connect with people through their art, even if you have never met these people before. And, I think it's a big loss for not just the Black community, but for Hollywood and acting, man. He's a great guy, one of the best actors out there, man. And, and for anybody out there who know people who, have drug addictions, man, just try to be there for them as much as you can. Of course, sometimes they don't tell you. We don't really know. We don't need to be out here judging about, just stay off them drugs, because, you never know what people are going through. But, also, it's just a tough situation, man. So I just want to give my thoughts and prayers out to his family, man. Michael K. Williams, you will be missed, my guy. Omar, The Wire, forever, man. So, but let's get back into what you guys watch this show for. Sports, man. The NFL is back. I am insanely excited. I felt like a kid on Christmas Eve last night. I feel like a kid on Christmas today. Let's just get into the AFC North, man. There's a lot of stuff going on in the AFC North, man. A little standoff going on right now between TJ Watt and the Pittsburgh Steelers as they get ready for their matchup this coming Sunday in Buffalo against my Super Bowl AFC content favorite, the Buffalo Bills. And I just think it's one of those things where, why are you playing hardball with your best defensive player? He might be the best player on the team altogether. If you look at the offensive side of, that number 7, that criminal who was number 7, he's not what he used to be anymore. Juju's still a good wide receiver. He's hands down the most annoying guy in sports. TJ Watt is your heart and soul of that team. And then when you've got Mike Tomlin come out and say, yo, we need to get this done. When you've got that criminal number 7 saying that, I took less money so they could bring him back on. It's like, what is the issue here? What is this? What is the problem? Pay this man. Now, I know the Steelers have this little old school type of philosophy where they don't really play players, before, when the season starts, which is something I feel like they need to stop because it makes no sense to be playing around with your franchise players. This is something that needs to get done. Now, he has been coming to practice because the NFL has this new mandate where if you miss practice, I think you miss like $40,000 a practice, something like that. So they're making it real light in the pockets, hitting you heavy in the pockets there. So he's been at practice, but he has not been doing anything. And for them to come out here, you got the Steelers, they're going to be trying to compete for one of those wild card spots. You got to come off the season running and gunning. So you need your guy. So I want to know what's going on. They need to get that deal done. They need to get that whole team ready to go because they play the Bills this week, man. The Bills are a team that's not for play. They're in a tough division, and they need to get that done. Now, other AFC North news, the Ravens. This just came in like about an hour ago when I was on my way over here to shoot this. Lot of injuries for the Ravens. Now, of course, we know they lost their running back Gus Edwards last week. Not Gus Edwards. They lost J.K. Dobbins. And so they lost Gus Edwards today and Marcus Peters. They're both thinking that's going to be a torn ACL. This comes from Ian Rappaport of NFL Network. Man, that's a big blow. Now, I understand we're in an era where running backs are, they're replaceable. You can go get you a running back off the street and he can fit into your system. But when you lose two of your key guys, that's going to be a big blow, especially, in a division as tough as theirs with Pittsburgh and, of course, Cleveland. And then Marcus Peters, one of your best guys on your defense, that's something that's definitely going to hurt them too. So, the NFL season is starting when we get these type of injuries, man. So I don't know what they're going to do, but that is it's a tough pill to swallow to start this season, man. Let's get into my top 3 must-watch games of the week. Now, every week, I'm going to give y'all my top three games you need to watch. I'm going to also be giving my predictions. But the top 3 games, I think the number 1 game of this week is the Sunday game between the Cleveland Browns and the Kansas City Chiefs. You don't want to say a game is must win in week 1, but this is kind of must win for the Browns because the Browns are one of the top contenders in the AFC, in the league in general this year. A lot of people have them going to the Super Bowl to face whoever comes out the NFC. They need to go out there and they need to make a statement. They were almost able to get it done in the playoffs last year against Kansas City, but Kansas City knows where they stand. They know they won the championship 2 seasons ago. They were in the Super Bowl just this past season, and they could be in the Super Bowl this year. So it's not really a game like Kansas City loses. Nobody's going to be like, oh, shit, are the Chiefs going to fumble? It's not that type of situation for them. But if you're Cleveland, you need to go out there. You need to make a motherfucking statement. They need to go out there and get that shit done now. It's a lot of pressure on Baker Mayfield. You finally got Odell Beckham back. Are you going to spread the offense out like you did when Odell got hurt? If they keep force feeding the ball to Odell Beckham, it's going to be a problem. Keep spreading the ball around. Get your running backs into it. Y'all had one of the top rushing offenses last year with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. You need to keep that shit going. So that is probably the number 1 game I would say to watch. That's going to be really, really fun to watch. Another game I will keep my eyes on is Titans and Cardinals. Now, the Titans are another big team in the AFC that could be a favorite. With my man Tanner Goat, they finally got a great wide receiver to add on with A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. Of course, you got Derrick Henry watch. And they're going to be going against Arizona. There's a lot of pressure on Arizona, too. Could Cliff Kingsbury be on the hot seat? Kyler Murray had that hot start last year before he got hurt. There's going to be all eyes are going to be on him. So that's going to be a nice little game to start off this week, man. I'm really excited to see that. And, of course, the other game, my third game is tonight. The champs are in Tampa Bay. We get full crowds all season this year, which I am excited about. Of course, Tampa – last time they played, there was Super Bowl and there was crowds because Florida doesn't give a fuck. They're going to be getting their banner up there, and Brady and the guys are going to be going against the Cowboys. Cowboys just wrapped up their Hard Knocks, and I got to say something about Hard Knocks, man. They just need to take Hard Knocks off TV. At first, I thought it was just, they were putting the wrong teams on there. But I think in the era we're in now, the digital era where we have so much access to these teams and to these players and to these organizations and what's going on in these locker rooms, that when we see it on film now, it's not really shocking. It's cookie cutter shit. Like when Hard Knocks got really popular in the early 2000s and the mid 2000s, we didn't know what the hell was going on in training camps and locker rooms before and after games in the room where people get cut. So that's what made it riveting television. Now we know everything. So I think that's something where it's not really must-see TV. And even this season, they didn't even have the crushing cuts. Now, of course, you don't want to see anybody lose their job. But let's be real. That's one of the things that people watch Hard Knocks for. The little fifth rounder who you fell in love with because he got a great family. He's got a cute little girlfriend. They got a little punk ass dog and a little small condo. And you're like, oh man, this is a person that I want to see make the team. And that's really is the fundamental part of it. And then they bring it to the room like, well, you did well for this team, but you're not gonna make it. We ain't had none of that shit this year. Everybody who was on the fringe made the damn team. Every last one of them. So it took that out of there. I think the only thing I gained from this season was Dak Prescott looks like he's a cool guy. Before I watched Hard Knocks, I thought he was lame. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I never met this dude, but he just gave me real, what did Rob Parker corny brother vibes, and he kind of gave me that. He gave me early Russell Wilson vibes. But as I watched this, I was like, oh, Dak like he's a cool guy. So that's why I got from this. But as far as this game, man, and this just goes right into my week 1 predictions. I got the Bucks winning this easily. They are almost a 10-point favorite in Vegas tonight, which is a huge number. Actually went up 1.5 points. It was 8 yesterday, approximately 9.5 favorite tonight. I got the Bucks winning this easily. I think a lot of people, I don't say a lot of people sleeping on the Bucks, but a lot of the talk is coming from the AFC with the Chiefs, with Buffalo, with Cleveland. And I don't think that people realize that this is a well-oiled machine. You got Tom Brady, who, until he actually starts playing bad, I'm not going to say he's falling off. This dude is in his 22nd season. Like I said, my brother's on here. He was in 5th grade. I was in 7th grade the first time he won a championship. I'm going to be 33 next month. This motherfucker's still playing. So that's going to be, you got that. You got another year, full training camp with Mike Evans. Chris Godwin is a little injured coming to the season. You got a full year with Antonio Brown. You got Gronk being back. The whole defense is back. I think it's going to be a well-oiled machine, and I think unless, barring injury, this team is easily going to win 13 games. I mean, last year they won 11, and that was through a COVID type of season. They didn't really have any training camp, no OTAs in person, and Antonio Brown came late into the season, and of course New Orleans had Drew Brees, and they lost both those games. There's nobody in that division. They've got 8 games, potential 7 to 8 wins off top, going against Jameis in the Saints, which is those wins that you can easily get, even though that defense is pretty decent out there. Carolina, which is Sam Darnold. I think that's all we got to say about that. And then Atlanta, Matt Ryan's not a bad quarterback. He's just old now. It's really what much can you expect from that team. So I think it's going to be a very easy division for them. Then they get to play the Jets. They get to play my bum-ass Bears. I think they're easily going to win 13 games. And I think tonight is where it starts. I think it's going to be a blowout. I'm not going to give a score, but I do think they're going to win by at least 2 touchdowns tonight. So I would go with that Bucks over Cowboys. Now let's look into the rest of this schedule, man. We've got Falcons and Eagles this week. This is a game that's kind of there's a nice amount of games on the schedule this week, but it's football. We ain't had none in 7 weeks. I don't give a shit. I'll be in front of my TV watching all this, but I'm gonna go with the Falcons over the Eagles week 1. I think the Eagles are gonna be one of the worst teams in football. I have zero faith in Jalen Hurts. I'm sorry. They have a new coach this year. Not really expecting much from them. I'm not expecting shit from Atlanta either, but I'm going to give them the slight edge, and I think they're going to win. By the way, we're going to keep a counter on this show. Every week, we're going to see my wins and loss record when it comes to my predictions and see just how spot on I am at the end of the season. But I think I'm going to be spot on. I am Negro Damas. So I will just get in tune with my picks. So my third one, man, of course, we talked about a little earlier, Bills playing the Steelers. They're going to have that home crowd back in Buffalo, man. We miss Bills Mafia. We miss little kids getting power driving the fucking tables outside the stadium. I miss that loud crowd, one of the best crowds in football. And now they've got a great team behind them. I've got the Bills winning this game. It's going to be a close one. I think Pittsburgh's going to be a nice little challenge for them, but I think they're going to win. So I'm going to go with Bills over the Steelers. We got block game number 2, Vikings versus the Bengals. Now, hopefully, I think that Joe Burrow is all ready to go to come back from that ACL tear last year. But the Vikings, even though they're mid-team, they're better than the Bengals. I think they're going to go out there and they're going to win that game. Expect a lot heavy dosage of Dalvin Cook. Then we've got Niners and Lions. There's one thing about the Detroit Lions, they're gonna start 0-1. Not really much to say about this game. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is gonna look good. The Niners are a team that last year they were just bitten real heavily by the injury bug, and I think this year Like I said last week, I got them in the NFC Championship game. I think it's going to be a good year for them. I think they'll cruise over Detroit. Now, Titans and Cardinals. I got the Titans winning this, man. I think the Cardinals it'll be a nice little game. But the Titans, I think, can have one of the best offenses in the league, man. So I'm really looking for that. I'm going to go with Tennessee over the Cardinals. Seahawks, Colts. I went back and forth between this one. Carson Wentz is cleared to play. He'll be playing this week. Quentin Nelson to practice today, so he should be ready to go. Seattle's an interesting team. Seattle, I do have them as one of my 3 wild card teams, but Seattle's real hit and miss sometimes. That defense is a little questionable. What more can Russ do? How's that offensive line going to do? But I really, really like this Colts defense, and the Colts are going to be at the crib. So I'm going to go with the Colts in this game. Chargers play the Washington football team. We got the Washington football team, who was my pick to win the NFC East. Now, I know that Dak Prescott is playing tonight, and a big reason I had picked the Cowboys because I don't believe Dak is 100% healthy. I am sticking with that. I do not believe he's 100% healthy. It's just football. So, they're going to throw your ass out there anyway. If you can walk, you can play. But I think the Chargers, man, the Chargers going to be a team that's going to be interesting. The Chargers going to be one of my wild card teams. And I think they're going to go out there. Jay Herbert, my man, Justin Herbert's going to have a great game. And they're going to get a win over Washington this week. The third block game. This isn't even a block game. This game is borderline awful. Like, it should be blacked out across America. This is Panthers and Jets. The only good thing you can see about here is Zach Wilson. We got the former Jets QB and Sam Darnold going against the new Jets QB. If you're a Jets fan, you're going to be interested to see that. I'm going to take the Panthers because they have Christian McCaffrey and the Jets don't. It's just really that damn simple. So that's why I'm going to go with that. Chiefs, Browns. Oh, and breaking news coming to my phone right now. As we were talking about TJ Watt, the Steelers must have been watching this. TJ Watt just got paid 4 years, $112 million contract, makes him the NFL's highest paid defensive player. This comes from Adam Schefter of ESPN. So, hey, there we have it. TJ Watt is being paid, and that's going to be good for Pittsburgh, man. But back to what I was saying, Chiefs and Browns, which is in my top 3 games to watch this week. As much as the Browns need this victory, I have eyes, and those eyes tell me that Patrick Mahomes is Jesus Christ in a football outfit. I'm going with the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs, not to say they have, a chip on the shoulder, but they won. They really don't like how they lost the Super Bowl last year. It wasn't close. You got the ass kicked, and let's be real about it. Even though they won 2 years ago, Patrick Mahomes hasn't played well in the Super Bowl the last 2 years. But I think they're going to come forward, and they're going to go out here, and they're going to get a victory over the Browns. I do think it'll be a very, very close game. Really, really looking forward to this, but I'm going with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Patriots Dolphins, man. This is going to be interesting here, man, because it's the Mac Jones debut. Going to see that. The Dolphins had a solid season last year, 10-6, but there's a lot of pressure on Tua. I think that the Patriots are the more prepared team. I think Mac Jones is going to have a solid debut. I'm going with the Patriots this week. Packers Saints. This game will not be played in New Orleans. Of course, they are recovering from Hurricane Ida. They'll be playing in Florida. And by the way, I love the pettiness of the Saints by picking this location. The Saints were able to pick where they were going to play. And Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a good career record in Florida. Now, I don't really know what the fuck that means because Aaron Rodgers might not mean shit. But I do like them trying to, put as much in their favor as possible. But with all that being said, Jameis Winston is Jameis Winston. And as somebody who watches a lot of Packer football because they're in my division, I know how Aaron Rodgers gets down, man. I think there's a lot of pressure on the Packers this year, but they will win this game. I'm going with the Green Bay Packers over the New Orleans Saints. Broncos Giants is another block game. We got Daniel Jones, the return of Saquon Barkley. I think Saquon will be playing this week. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure Saquon will be playing this week. They're going up against that Denver Broncos defense led by former Bears defensive coordinator Vic Fangio. It'll be the debut of Teddy Midwater, as I like to call him. Teddy Midwater is the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos. This is going to be a very struggle game because I don't really trust either offense, but I trust Teddy way more than I trust Daniel Jones. So I'm going with the Denver Broncos. And as like I said earlier, Bears, Rams, I predicted this when my brother was on. I got the Rams winning easily. There's really not much to say about that. It's going to be a rough week for Andy Dalton. Now, the Justin Fields chatter just going to get louder after this game. And then Monday Night Football, Ravens and Raiders in Vegas with the what do they call that shit in Star Wars? I'm blocking out the Death Star in Vegas. They're going to be debuting that. And for the first time ever, there's no double header on Monday Night Football this year. I'm kind of disappointed about that. I think Eli and Peyton have the Manning stream, which would be on ESPN2, which should be pretty fun. I love Lou Riddick. I love the crew on Monday Night Football, but I'm going to be listening to the Mannings. I love, Peyton Manning is a football savant. Not a big Eli fan. I think Eli is Jay Cutler with opportunity. Let's hold this discussion for another day. But I'm going to listen to the Peyton call. But I'm going to go with, I had the Ravens. I'm changing my pick. After those injuries, I'm changing my pick. I'm going with the Raiders this week. Going with the Raiders for this week's game, man. So those are my picks. And now we're going to get into our weekly betting odds. And I just want to let y'all know right now, these are not coming from me. These are coming from my man, Mikey. You can follow him on Twitter at Junior_Solito. He's going to be our betting analyst every week. He couldn't make it this week because we had to change the recording date to Thursday this week, but he will be on next week. So these are from him. So if you get these shits wrong, do not be in my mentions. I don't know shit about gambling, but he does. So I just want to get that out the way now. Now let's go to our first bet. Titans Cardinals. I would take the over on 52.5 points being scored in this game. Like I was saying earlier, Kyler Murray was on track last year to be the only QB in NFL history to eclipse 4,000 yards passing and 1,000 yards rushing before he had that shoulder injury in week 11. Didn't really look well. I don't really know if that has something to do with his arm or defense is adjusting to him. But this year he's healthy. He's going to be returning to form. He's got Nuke D-Hop there. He's got AJ Green's going to be there this year. And they're going to be going up against Tennessee Titans defense that was 29th in yards allowed and 24th in points allowed last year. Then there's Tennessee's offense. Tennessee's offense, like we were saying earlier, they now have, you could actually make a case they have the best running back and wide receiver combo in the league with Julio Jones and A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry, man. I do think Derrick Henry has a really, really good shot to be the first player to do back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons, man. Want to give a shout out to my super producer, Pat Vito. We tried to help him with his fantasy football draft yesterday. He tried to get him, but didn't work out for him. But you can hit me up for fantasy tips. I don't play that devil's game anymore because it was ruining my life, but I can still help you out on that. But anyway, Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, A.J. Brown, they're going to be there with Ryan Tannehill, my guy. And I think it's going to make the offense of the Titans really, really deadly. And until I see proven otherwise with either of these defenses, I think I'm going to take the over for that on 52.5 points in Titans and Cardinals, man. When it comes to another play to look out for, man, you got to look out for Mike Evans, man. Mike Evans, I love him at this spot for over 4.5 receptions, and that's at plus 106 on the money line. I'm riding him over 4.5 receptions because, he's got a 4-year training camp now with Tom Brady. Brady's even been on record saying that their chemistry has gotten better. That's going to be real exciting to see, and I think he's going to destroy that Cowboys secondary. I say this as a Bears fan, and we have a terrible fucking secondary. That secondary might be the worst in the league. Like, Dak was putting up legendary numbers last year in the first quarter of the season, numbers we've never seen before. And that defense was the reason they went 1-3. I think that Mike Evans is going to be police help every time his arm goes up. So I would bang that for 0.45 receptions for Mike Evans. Now, when it comes to the Dolphins going up against the Patriots. Like I said, they had a 10-6 record last year. There's a lot of pressure on Mac Jones, but I would take them +3. He said take them +3 with the Dolphins, just because of the pressure that's going to be on Tua. But look out for the Dolphins to keep it close. Now, my man Mikey has the Dolphins winning. He's the betting man. He says you should take them +3. Basically saying fuck my pick earlier, but take them +3 when it comes to that, man. So those are your betting odds, your 3 betting odds for this week. We'll have more next week. He'll be better if I fucked it up a little bit. I apologize. Don't blame me. You know, I don't know shit about betting. It's all about him. So next week we'll have him on here. He'll be our I'm not gonna hold you betting correspondent, man. So look out for that next week. And we got a pretty short show today, not too much to get into. So we're gonna wrap this up with the Goofy Mog of the week. The Goofy Mog of the week I've got this week. I gotta give it to my man Rasheed Wallace. And this kind of pains me a little bit because I love Rasheed Wallace. Rasheed is my guy. But when it comes to this bullshit, he's saying, I'm getting tired of these old heads saying generational players can't be dominant in other eras. It's bullshit, especially when it comes to guys of the caliber of LeBron James and Kevin Durant. He said that he doesn't think LeBron will be dominant in his era. And it's very funny because once, yes, he could dominate. LeBron could dominate any era. If LeBron went to the 60s, they'd lynch him just because of how incredible he would fucking be. Imagine them slow ass dudes in the 80s who smoked squares before the game trying to guard LeBron James. So for Sheed to say this, and really technically, LeBron was in Sheed's era. I mean, he sent their ass home twice. Like the Detroit Pistons of that era were probably one of the most underachieving teams I've ever seen. They won 04 and they just was like, they played up to their competition. It just didn't make any sense to me. Of course, 07, we can never forget the 25 straight points by LeBron. I'll never forget that. I was getting my hair cut, getting ready for prom. Oh, when that game happened. And for him to, for him to do it, he even dunked on his ass too. I think he was in a poster, if I'm not mistaken. He also eliminated them another. I think was it 08? They eliminated him twice. Maybe it wasn't twice, but I know they got in their ass in 07. But yeah, and so to say that's kind of funny because LeBron's already beat him, and LeBron can do the same shit in the 90s. And then he said Kevin Durant wouldn't be as good. Now, his point was that it was more of a post-up game in the 90s, and it was more inside out instead of outside in like the game is right now. That's a fair criticism, but let's be fucking real. This guy is over 7 feet. Kevin Durant is a legit 7 feet. He can shoot from anywhere on the fucking floor. He's dominating in any type of area. So I want these old heads to stop with the bullshit, especially from eras that people of my age. I remember that game. I remember the late 90s and the early 2000s when she was in there. This isn't some shit that happened in the 70s and 80s where we can't really talk about what happened. We knew what happened. So I'm just really sick and tired of all these old heads, man. Just let it go. Let it go. Let these kids, and they're not even kids. LeBron and KD are like the elder statesmen of the league right now. So they're not even kids. So stop that bullshit. I got to give him Goofy Mog of the week for that. I also want to give it to Charles Barkley, too, because of, him hating on Clutch Sports. And by the way, this is a Clutch Mafia inspired supported podcast now that my Chicago Bulls have 2 Clutch employees. I'm not employees, but clients, and Lonzo Ball and Zach LaVine. I think it's a problem when you got guys like Charles Barkley talking about, oh, well, teams shouldn't succumb to him. I think it's great what Rich Paul's doing. To see a black man out here doing what these white men have been doing for decades when it comes to agencies and stuff like that. I think people just taking offense to it because it's a black man. And everybody was like, oh, well, he's just LeBron's friend. You can't even say that anymore. And shout out to LeBron. Everybody know I'm not a big LeBron fan at all, to say the least. But I really love how he puts his team on it to, help to even put Rich in that position. But Rich did his work. Rich Paul did his work. He didn't, just take, Ben LeBron's, hype man, pretty much. He went to school for this shit. And he's out somebody who's dominating the game right now and having all these different clients in different sports, different leagues. I think it's just straight up hater shit by Charles Barkley, man. And I love Chuck as a commentator. I love Chuck as he's one of my favorite players growing up as a kid. But with all due respect, shut the hell up, man. So those are my 2 Goofy Mogs of the week. Charles Barkley, Rasheed Wallace, man. That is all we have. I'm not going to hold you today. Next week will be a longer episode. Next week, I will, of course, have my brother on. We're going to be doing 79th Hallis minute every week. We're going to be doing our betting segment with the homie Mikey. Follow him, Junior_Salito on Twitter. Follow my brother, F. Lowe's Andolini. Follow me at Barbchair Scott on Twitter and Instagram. I want to give a shout out to my super producer, Pat Vito. Follow him on Twitter at PatVWorld. I'm going to shamelessly plug right now. Songs About Women is out on all stream platforms. Stream that right now. London House is a new song we got out. He got out right now on all stream platforms, and look out for that. A lot of music coming. Barbers Chair Network. Follow at Barbers Chair Net on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon.com/Barbers Chair Network. We are recording a new summer sessions today. I know y'all been waiting. The reason it didn't happen last week was because it was timing. Pat wanted to hear that Drake album that came out that he has to stop playing. We will get into that tonight, so check that out. And yeah, man, we back next week. Recap week 1, get you ready for week 2. And yeah, man, thank you for tuning in. 10 episodes, man. We already 10 deep. Let's get 10 plus more going on, man. So we out. I'm not gonna hold you.